Sunny Hostin thought she could talk circles around Condoleezza Rice on The View. But this wasn't just any guest. Condoleezza Rice, a former Secretary of State, academic powerhouse, and one of the most respected voices in politics, wasn't about to let Sunny's interruptions and performative antics fly. What happened next? A takedown so legendary it silenced the entire table and left Sunny Hostin scrambling to recover. You're not going to want to miss this one. It all began like any other episode of The View. The usual chaos, the constant talking over one another, and of course, Sunny Hostin eagerly waiting for her moment to turn the conversation into a lecture. But this time, things didn't go as planned. Condoleezza Rice, cool as ever, took the floor to discuss the January 6th incident. With poise and authority, she called it out as an assault on law and order, and made it clear that those responsible should be held accountable. But here's where she flipped the script. Instead of dwelling on the past, Condoleezza shifted gears to address what Americans care about most: inflation, skyrocketing gas prices, and the challenges families are facing today. Sunny, of course, couldn't let that slide. Interrupting mid-sentence, Sunny tried to take control of the conversation, but Condoleezza wasn't having it. Respectfully, Sunny, let me finish.
And the American people do have other concerns that we ought to be thinking about and talking about.
Respectfully,
And
Madam
so,
Secretary, I think
well, let me finish now.
The room fell silent. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Sunny's face, filled with visible frustration, said it all. This wasn't going to be her moment. But Condoleezza wasn't done. She went on to deliver a masterclass in grace and logic. Yes, January 6th was wrong, and law enforcement will handle it. But the American people are struggling. Families are worrying about putting food on the table, paying for gas, and surviving inflation. These are the issues we need to be addressing. The audience couldn't help but clap, and you could tell it wasn't the polite on-cue clapping we usually see on The View. This was real, spontaneous applause for a moment of clarity and truth. Now, let's talk about why this moment was so powerful. Condoleezza Rice didn't just shut down Sunny Hostin. She reminded the entire panel why they were there in the first place. While The View often spirals into political theater, Condoleezza brought the focus back to real issues. But Sunny, she was left floundering. You could almost see the gears turning as she tried to figure out how to spin Condoleezza's calm, measured points into something she could argue with. Spoiler alert, she couldn't.
First of all, let me be very clear. I said at the time, January 6th was wrong. I called it an assault on law and order and an assault on our democratic processes. So full stop, it was wrong. Law enforcement will determine what happened there, and those who violated the law ought to be punished. Now, I think what Senator McConnell may be referencing is, yes, it's time to move on in a lot of ways. I'm one who believes that the American people are now concerned about their what we call kitchen table issues, the price of gasoline, inflation. We ought to move on to the next generation, move ahead and deal with the American people's issues.
What's even more telling is how the rest of the panel reacted. Joy Behar, for once, kept quiet. Whoopi Goldberg didn't even attempt to jump in. And Ana Navarro, well, she had that nervous smile she always has when she knows the guest is winning.
It's really politically expedient for Mitch McConnell to say, let's move on, let's move on. The problem is that past will become prologue if we don't find out exactly what happened January 6th.
And we will.
So it's not time right now.
We will find out.
We must find out before moving on.
We will find out. But I'm going to tell you, I live in California, not Washington, D.C. And the American people do have other concerns that we ought to be thinking about and talking about.
Respectfully,
and
Madam
so,
Secretary, I think...
Well, let me finish now, Sunny. I also know that as a government and as a country, we've got to be concerned about the things that are making life hard for Americans and hard for American families.
The real kicker here is how Sunny's usual tactics completely backfired. She often relies on interruptions and moral grandstanding to dominate the conversation. But Condoleezza Rice wasn't playing that game. Instead, she stayed calm, focused, and factual. It was a stark contrast to Sunny's performative outrage and desperate attempts to control the narrative. But here's the thing. This isn't just about Sunny. It's about The View as a whole. Time and time again, we've seen this panel prioritize drama over substance. They talk over guests, dismiss differing opinions,
Was a socialist, and socialism was the economic system
And
of
they
Venezuela.
stole. It's a
And so-
kleptocracy. It's
I know,
not
but
socialism.
But here's the question is, they voted for socialism. They voted for, let me finish.
No, I can't let you finish. If you're going to say Maduro's going to murder us both, I'm not letting you finish. Because that's a damn lie.
Wait, but
And I've got a bunch of neighbors and
have
friends
30
who know
seconds.
this. Don't do this to me. Don't mansplain. I'm a 47-year-old girl.
thanks to Senator Rand Paul. Question a lot, but why did you endorse Donald Trump? Sir, I hate to ask this question, but you have aligned yourself with the man who has bashed women, made countless racist remarks, and you're Ben Carson. Why would you align yourself with that?
Because you and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary
that have
Clinton
nothing to
started
do
it,
with
and then
who
you
I
shot
am.
back at her, boy. You called her the queen of warmongers.
You doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am. I'm a soldier.
What's your evidence to that?
To change. Well, are you
Can I-
serious?
let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
I served in the war
Not
in
you,
Iraq.
her. You're saying that she's-
exactly.
she's a
I
warmonger.
served
How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change
Did
war
you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
So it is.
and create echo chambers instead of meaningful dialogue. Condoleezza's appearance exposed all of that, and did so with class. Now, I want to hear from you. What did you think of Condoleezza Rice's responses? Do you think she handled Sunny Hostin perfectly? Or would you have liked her to go even further? And here's a big question. Do you agree that the media should focus more on the issues Americans are facing today, like inflation and gas prices, instead of constantly rehashing past events? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you thought this was a masterclass in shutting down nonsense, you're going to love what Hollywood legend Billy D. Williams had to say when Sunny tried to race bait him during another episode of The View. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Click here to watch.